YouTube? It's your boy Bob G. We got a quick vid. This one's called How Chris Smoove Impacted NBA 2K. Now I don't know if y'all are like me, but I grew up watching Chris Smoove. That's how I really got into the 2K video game type shit, was because of this nigga Chris Smoove, watching his fucking My Career shit. Cause I don't know, bro, he always made his videos so good, bro. It made you feel like he had a different version of 2K. Like it made you want to play the 2K he was playing. So I don't know, that's just me. Yeah, let's check this one out though. Let me know.
On March 19, 2006, a YouTube channel was registered under the name Smoove7182954. Fast forward 15 years later, and that channel now has 5 million subscribers and over 3 billion lifetime views. The creator behind this channel is none other than Chris Smoove. Now, if you thought becoming a successful YouTuber was Chris Smoove's initial plan, you'd actually be wrong. In fact, when he first created his channel, he had no intentions of making his own content.
So when I made my account back in 2006, it was because I wanted to see this booty shaking video. And the video was 18 plus age restricted, so I had to make an account. I had to lie about my age. I wasn't 18 at the time.
So the question is, how did Chris...
Yo, what the fuck? This nigga Smoove is different.
Smoove go from a 16-year-old watching inappropriate YouTube videos to becoming a massive influence on a multi-billion-dollar company? To fully understand the impact of Chris Smoove, we must first look at NBA 2K as a whole. Basketball video games have been around for almost half a century now, but it wasn't until November of 1999 that we finally saw 2K enter the basketball video game world. Compared to its competition, NBA 2K was praised for both its graphics and gameplay, and it was instantly recognized for setting the standard for basketball video games. However, there was one area that 2K still needed to improve.
These graphics are insane.
Storytelling. Now, in the beginning, you can tell that this wasn't a primary focus for 2K. The most we saw...
Hey, I'm not gonna lie though, this is actually a... this is not too bad of a face scan for Kobe. This, you could tell, like, this looks a lot like Kobe Bryant. I'm not sure what 2K this is, but I mean, like, the graphics are horrendous, but this is not a bad face scan.
Beginning, you can tell that this wasn't a primary focus for 2K. The most we saw initially was 24/7 mode. This was a fairly basic career mode that would only make a few appearances, as it would ultimately be discontinued after the release of 2K7 and heading into 2008. 2008 would also be the same year Chris Smoove would upload his first video to YouTube, a 19-second clip of Ben Wallace knocking down a mid-range jump shot. Over the next year and a half, Chris Smoove would upload several videos on NBA 2K8 and 2K9, but he was forced to make content on game modes like Quick Game or Play Now Online due to the lack of an actual career mode in those two entries. Luckily for Chris Smoove, he didn't have to wait long for career mode to make its way back to the franchise. The following year for 2K10, we saw the introduction of My Player. This was a career mode that followed your player through the draft combine and throughout an entire NBA season. Since it was still in its beginning stages, there wasn't really a whole lot to this mode. After creating your player, you had to play through several combine games before advancing to a team's training camp. If you played well enough, you were drafted to the NBA and you finished your career there. This would pretty much be the formula for 2K's My Player mode for the next few years. Get drafted, play games, rinse, and repeat.
This is the early stages of
So even though we
my
finally
career.
saw a career mode return to 2K, I wouldn't go as far as to call it a story mode. Mainly because A, there wasn't really a story, and B, everything was still centered around what your player did on the court. In fact, in 2009, IGN got their hands on NBA 2K10 a few weeks before its official release. Even though they generally welcomed the addition of the new My Player mode, they stated, "We wish that contract negotiations and perhaps some off-the-court activities made it into the structure of My Player." There was clearly a community out there that wanted to do more than just put the ball in the basket. They wanted to see more backstory. they wanted to see what life was like for an NBA player outside of basketball. And for the My Player mode in 2K, they wanted to see more creativity. This is where chrissmoove would shine. On October 16, 2010, chrissmoove would upload an NBA 2K11 My Player video titled First NBA Game and Press Conference. For the first time in his videos, he would feature a 90-second intro showing various cutscenes from a racing game called Test Drive Unlimited.
Check out my Smoove apartment overlooking the city. It's nice and cozy. So far, so good. I'm feeling really comfortable in my new home. I just can't wait for my NBA debut tonight. I can't wait for the game tonight.
Now, if you weren't too familiar with 2K at the time, these clips could have easily been mistaken for actual cutscenes from their My Player mode. This video in particular...
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. This nigga chrissmoove literally made you feel like he had a different version of the game, dog. Like, that was different, bro, for the time. I mean, it was just something different, bro, and that's what attracted me. I was like, dude, because obviously I knew what 2K was. I knew it was a basketball game. I've even had it years prior to like playing, you know, my career and shit. It just, I don't know, I always just got bored of the game. It was one of those games where like you could only really play that shit if you really had like a homie over or some, or you just got the game and it's brand new. That's really about it, because Madden had franchise, Madden had superstar mode, so like they never really implemented that into the basketball games, and I don't know, I always got bored of them. So I stopped really buying them, and I stopped really fucking with them until I started watching chrissmoove. I'm like, hold on, we got something here.
Would ultimately get a positive response from his audience, eventually leading to comments like this one. The beginning/intro was epic. Nice job. I don't see why we don't see stuff like this in 2K11. You really feel like you're living the player's life when that stuff is in. After receiving feedback from his subscribers, chrissmoove will begin to upload similar videos to the series, with each one briefly showcasing the life of an NBA player. In one video, he'd showcase a new penthouse and sports car his player quote-unquote purchased.
Are you ready for the game tonight? I'm ready for the game tonight, but let me just show you something real fast. Let me show you the top. Let me show you the top. Ha ha.
In another video, he'd use clips from various other games to show what type of jobs he had before making it to the NBA. There was even a video where he would visit his injured teammate, Dwayne Wade, in the hospital.
He played in Game 5, wasn't very effective. I was just being a good teammate, making sure our team chemistry is all good. So when his last doctor's appointment before the finals, I went to go check on him, and he says he'll be 100% for the NBA finals.
Not only were these short intro clips creative, but they were also somewhat believable. One user commented, "I remember being 10 years old thinking the intro was a part of the game. And then I got the game and was confused why I wasn't in there." People who watched chrissmoove would go out to stores like GameStop to buy NBA 2K, specifically for all the cool new things you can do in the My Player mode, only to eventually start up the game and realize that you can't actually drive flashy sports cars or fly private jets. Nonetheless, people loved this style of content. Not only was it really engaging, but at the time, no one in the 2K community was making these types of videos. And because of this, chrissmoove's channel would begin to grow as he continued to upload these videos for the remainder of 2K11. 2K12 and 2K13 would see similar results for chrissmoove. As he continued to make videos, the stories would become more and more believable. In one video, we might see his player driving his car on his way to the game. Then, in another video, he'll show us the process of picking out his suit for NBA Draft Day.
I gotta get a suit. I can't show up with some baggy hoodie and long tee. I gotta get a nice looking suit. So what better place to get a suit than in the city I'm gonna get drafted in New York.
This style of content would quickly rise in popularity, and it would start to become the norm for many other 2K creators during this time. chrissmoove would continue to make these types of videos for the remainder of those 2 years, as 2K13 would unfortunately mark
London Bridges. Shout out London Bridges.
The end of those infamous intros.
The user.
Now, if these videos were getting so much positive feedback from his viewers, why did he decide to stop making them now? Well, following the success of chrissmoove and his compelling intros,
did he stop making them?
Fortunately marked the end of those for the remainder of 2K creators during this time. Chris Smoove would continue to make these types of videos for the remainder of those 2 years, as 2K13 would unfortunately mark the end of those infamous intros. Now, if these videos were getting so much positive feedback from his viewers, why did he decide to stop making them now? Well, following the success of Chris Smoove and his compelling intros, 2K would finally start to see the importance of storytelling. So the following year, they would release NBA 2K14. This would be the first entry in the series to have its own original story mode. Although this was definitely an improvement from what we saw in the early stages of 2K, this story mode definitely came with its fair share of criticism. For example, some of the cutscenes you had with your head coach would replay multiple times throughout the season. You were also forced to read subtitles when talking to your teammates, since none of their voices were captured before the game's release. But again, despite these minor complaints, it was undoubtedly a step up from the MyPlayer mode we saw in previous years.
Hell yeah, it was.
So the question still remains, why did Chris Smoove stop making those infamous intros? Well, since NBA 2K14 had its own original story built in, there was no longer a need for Chris Smoove to go through the hassle of creating his own. He didn't have to pretend that his player was driving his car to the arena before the game, because now that's an actual feature. He didn't have to pretend to go and pick out a special suit for the NBA draft, because now that's a part of the main story.
Dead ass.
Hey, look, we gotta get you a suit.
Nah, this nigga Chris Smoove really changed the spectrum.
Good.
Because we were slowly starting to see his influence trickle over into the franchise, Chris Smoove really didn't have to continue his storylines anymore. One could also argue that by this point, that style of content would quickly become oversaturated. Any 2K content creator that made my career videos during this time would ultimately follow the same blueprint. Not only could you make the argument that Chris Smoove was influencing an entire franchise, but you could also argue that he was influencing his player base as well. Because of this influence, the 2K community would eventually label him as the godfather of 2K. To this day, you'll still see the occasional comment from someone saying how they prefer Chris Smoove's intros over the cringy storylines we have now from 2K themselves.
Yes, bro.
This is just another example
That's
of the
facts.
impact that Chris Smoove had on the 2K franchise and the community. Now, was Chris Smoove the first person to think of elaborate storylines while playing his favorite game? Probably not. Was he the first person to bridge the gap between basketball and some of its off-the-court activities? No. But did he play a role in the success of both the NBA 2K franchise and its My Career mode? Absolutely. Just like how Michael Jordan transcended the NBA to a much larger audience, I genuinely believe Chris Smoove did the same for 2K. And similar to how every NBA player wanted to be like Mike, every 2K content creator, at one point or another, wanted to be like Smoove.
Man, you couldn't have said that shit better myself. Hey, WVid, let me know down below what y'all thought of that one. Let me know if y'all fuck with Chris Smoove, if you watched his videos. Shout out Chris Smoove, by the way, bro. The godfather of 2K. That's crazy, bro. That's facts. But let me know. Drop a like. Subscribe. I'm gonna catch y'all.